The food service, hospitality, and retail industries are evolving in ways you've never heard of until now. Hosted by global industry technovator Rob Grimes and powered by the IFBTA, TechBytes is your go-to podcast, putting technology innovation and trends on the menu.
Welcome to another edition of TechBytes here at the National Restaurant Association show in Chicago. And today I'm joined with Kelly Davis, who is in hospitality sales for Infor Hospitality. So welcome to TechBytes.
Thank you, Rob.
And welcome to Chicago because you don't live here. So
Thank you. It's great to be here. Thanks for having me.
So you are focused on the hospitality area.
I am.
Now I am going to guess that, I shouldn't say this, but I'm going to guess that a lot of people have no clue how big and how deep Infor goes in hospitality. I think they know Infor. They may know them from retail. They may know them from some other industries. But
Absolutely.
How about, let's start with just sort of how deep, is Infor in hospitality?
Absolutely. No, it's a great question. So Infor is a conglomerate of a lot of different industry-specific segments, and we basically tailor our software solutions to those industry-specific needs. I live on the Infor Hospitality side, but we have, deep manufacturing and retail and
Legal and libraries and
libraries.
things.
Yes,
I've known Infor for a long time, so I got that.
Yeah, we have. And so, being at the NRA show this year, I attended last year, but it's always great to kind of see, who's attending and how we speak to restaurants specifically, because that's part of Infor Hospitality.
Well, the interesting thing about that is that if you take a look at all of the different applications, and all the different areas that Infor is involved in, you're really in every segment. You're global.
We are
in there.
We are.
But also, a lot of the people that are here are either partners or integrations that you would have. Mm-hmm. And I don't know that, maybe the way to look at it is that Infor, enables hospitality because you actually sort of sit at the center. And there are so many different pieces that you can either offer yourself or you actually work. It's not an all or nothing, that you can work with the largest of enterprises out there working in all the different areas.
That's a great way to put it. No, and it's so true. I mean, we have a full cloud suite of solutions, to kind of, everybody's needs are different, right? But within sales and catering and event management, our booking solution, kind of takes you from initial prospecting with our CRM all the way through to, VEOs. So our sales, catering, and event management platform is really fantastic. We've also got a workforce management solution as well, which is great. And then, we have POS as well. And then Cloud Suite Financials. So kind of, and more. So we could talk all day about that, but, really a full kind of a la carte ecosystem.
And I would say, by the way, just like the IFBTA, who partners in as many different industries, if you think about it, where restaurants and food and beverage reside are everything from cruise ships to casinos to hotels and restaurants themselves. But also, a lot of people don't realize how deep you guys are in colleges, universities.
We are.
No, I mean, I've learned that. And those are some of the more challenging environments. And if you can tackle those, which have each of these individual segments in them, and even a hotel does too, as standalone businesses, that's why the restaurant industry becomes so important, because it's a standalone segment, but it's also an integrated and partner segment.
Absolutely.
And I think that's probably where all that integration comes in and having the different apps.
The integration is key, yes. And we definitely do that well. Speaking of, cruise customers, Carnival Cruise Line is a great customer of ours.
But not in your portfolio.
Not in my portfolio.
See, now you needed that one in your portfolio, right?
I did. Well, that was before my time. But yes, great customer. We've got some really great restaurant customers as well. So, really excited to be at the NRA show to kind of gain some more perspective. So, yeah.
Well, let's talk about some of the sort of, specific areas, right? So it's interesting that you lead with like the sales and catering types of things, because I think when most people think sales and catering, they're thinking really about the lodging side. I mean, and I do know you have a very strong lodging side
We
from
do.
property management systems and
We
things
do.
like that.
Yeah.
And sales and catering is very strong there. But, you
Yes.
know, I think a lot of restaurants have figured out that there's this great opportunity, both on-site and off-site, for sales and catering. And it really is a different area than something you're just going to do in your point of sale, right?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, you know, from the sales team and how they go to prospect, and everything as far as data, analytics and insights that they can plug into the solution, you know, to kind of capture all of the CRM information and then take that to reporting and you know, through to BOs and beyond to kind of, you know, wrap up the actual event itself. I mean, it really is a very robust solution. And we're pretty successful at it. We've got some great, you know, customer history and, you know, we kind of live on my hospitality side. We live in transportation, restaurant, and entertainment. So, but yes, we do. We definitely have the hotels and casinos vertical as well, which it's a great solution.
But, you know, a lot of people, especially, you know, there are conferences on this now where it's not just, you know, it's takeout, carry out, and, you know, catering, right?
Mm-hmm.
You know, any kind of off premise.
Yes.
So restaurants have figured out they don't always have to have the real estate either to do off premise, and off premise has become a big business. And I was trying to track like how that how that actually happened. But if you think about when the restaurants figured out, because of COVID and some other things, that
absolutely.
they needed to
It was
do
post-pandemic.
online ordering
Yes,
in
yeah.
full service segment,
Yep.
which may not have done that before,
Uh-huh.
right? All of a sudden they realized, and we're getting the call to, can you do package things? Can you do on-site business catering
Yes,
and things?
yes.
Well, that kind of software and managing that and the banquet event orders and the things that piece it together is really totally different
It
than what
is.
you would normally do, right?
It absolutely is. And that's fascinating that you brought that up because we just put out an ebook, kind of a white paper on, you know, how technology has changed post-pandemic. And you know, the just the speed, right? I mean, the speed in and of itself, and then how, you know, how these restaurants are going to market. So really fantastic. I definitely recommend checking out our website too. And there you can download the ebook on that. It's super fascinating for this segment.
Well, you know, it's funny. Immediately, you know, after the pandemic, people always talked about the pivot and everything like that. And I always thought, well, you can never say that there was the unintended consequences that were good things out of a pandemic, right? But it did enable people to go ahead and figure out that there were new opportunities.
Absolutely.
And so if I were writing an ebook and a white paper on this, I might look at it as, you know, the extended opportunities that come out of, you know, extending your reach, your brand, and being able to do that. But to do that, you really have to have applications that are focused on that.
You do.
Because it's just different. It's not the same thing, but it's a great opportunity, right?
Yeah, no, I think so too. I do.
So
Super valuable.
you've been at Infor a couple of years,
I have.
but you came from the hospitality industry.
I did.
And you did.
I was in interior design on the hospitality side. So I did, I was an interior designer for hospitality and corporate, and then some residential as well. So complete shift in industry. However, people ask me this all the time. Kelly, what made you make the change? And I was really ready for a new challenge. I had been in design my entire career, and loved it. However, this is just one other part and piece of hospitality, right? So
Or
to
you're
me,
designing systems.
Yes, yeah, I love
Right?
that. I love that.
There you
Rob.
go.
Yes. Can I take that?
Sure.
I'll use that.
Right.
I'm designing system. I like it. It is. And really being in this industry, it's exciting to see all the parts and pieces that
I'm
an
going to
event
rephrase. I got to
successful.
rephrase. You're designing solutions.
You're designing solutions.
Systems are just one
Yep.
piece of a solution, right?
Yes. Yeah.
But I think that the background that you had, we did a podcast the other day with a designer who's actually an architect,
Yeah. Okay.
but yet they're operating restaurants. And we were talking about what they learned.
Uh-huh.
And if you think about when you're doing design, you have to bring parts and pieces together and it
do.
has to flow, right?
You do.
And it's a seamless flow of things. And what people don't which I'm learning, it's everything from the lighting, the music to, the layout and design, right? It's everything, right?
Yeah, it's
Well,
everything.
you're actually doing the same thing. You
Yeah.
are orchestrating, many different types of applications that come together, and today they come together in the cloud. So
Absolutely.
you have that experience. I don't know what aha moments you had in this that maybe you were expecting or you weren't, but
Well,
that's what you're doing.
I love that. And absolutely to be able to look at all of the solutions and like how the workflow, goes from beginning to end, and how we're able to capture that. And then, now, AI is in everything. Agentic AI is in everything that we do, right? And so we're starting to roll that out in some of our solutions as well, which has been pretty amazing to see, and soon to come to our sales, catering, and event platform. So super excited about that too.
What would be interesting would be so you have, the ebook on this, right? But what would be interesting would be to plug into the data that you get from some of your existing customers, plug that system in and see what insights it gives them on the opportunity they could be doing in catering and offsite. Because they may not actually realize that they even have that opportunity and how that would plug and be seamless for them, which is using the tool in a different fashion to help them to grow their business before they even know they want to do it.
Absolutely. Well, and we actually do a lot. We just launched an Infor customer portal, and it's basically a live kind of connect of some of our existing customers as well as new prospects and potentials that want to get together and basically have a forum, to kind of talk about all of these, really important topics too. So we just launched that as well.
Well, maybe
That's
they
soon
should
to
test
come.
what
So
they're
I
doing in
agree
there,
with you.
right?
Yeah, absolutely.
They could test that. So if we think about, some of the other applications, because you mentioned, so we led with the one, which get that. But you also, labor and workforce management is like such a huge area.
It is.
So, what is your insight on that? Where do you see that fitting? What are the main priorities that you're focused on? Where Infor is helping to, people to operate more efficiently in that?
With our workforce management platform, we really focus on time and attendance and scheduling as our main, kind of key points. And we have it's our former Infor Hospitality rep who's moved over to workforce management. So some of you may know Casey Gishin from previous, but she's now running that. And so we partner a lot together on some opportunities.
We've had her on the podcast.
Yeah, she's great. So yeah.
She's an athlete. I had to look her up, so I found out what she did. Yeah, no, it's very good.
Yeah, she's great. So she's on that team now, and we're great. We're so happy to have her there. So we do partner a lot with opportunities like that bring in, there's really, everybody's kind of looking for this all-in-one solution, right? And how can you, at least as a business and as a company, collaborate with as few companies as possible so that it makes your daily life.
Well, there's always that
easy.
debate though of all-in-one versus best of breed, right?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
But you actually offer both.
We do.
Because
we do.
These products can be standalone as much as they can be integrated. And we also know that the larger the company, the more likely they are to have legacy products or things that, may take time to integrate, or they're not going to, it depends. And also, I don't want to underestimate where Infor sits globally, because
right.
not everybody can do global. And that takes a lot. And there's a lot of governance, there's laws, legislation, it's not easy to do that. But you also bring that, to the table. And a lot of restaurants are growing internationally much quicker than they ever did before. And you can take them there.
This is so true and right. And it's exciting to kind of meet those franchise owners, and looking forward to meeting more at the show. So yeah, I appreciate that.
So since we're here at the show, and you said that you've come a couple of times and you've walked around, so is there an insight that you've seen here at the show that you look at that and you say, either we can do that, or that's a great idea that you can bring together, within the platform that you have, of just saying, boy, this is what the industry is headed towards.
Sure.
Because you're going to see that here, right? Where the trends are. So where do you see the trends?
I think partnerships are really important. partnerships and go-to-market, and how we can, kind of come together as two or three different entities, but also, go to market for the customer as one. So I'm always on the lookout for new, like POS systems and what people are putting out, to take that feedback back. Always, looking at like table reservation systems, for instance. It's just great to see, the up and coming and the innovative companies that come here to the show, and great to connect with them, because it's always good to have healthy competition with other vendors and other companies.
What they call that coopetition, right?
Yeah, right.
So,
yeah.
well, let's do this. Let's just take a quick break, because you've actually now teed up 4 or 5 specific things that I think we should talk about. So,
Okay.
So, I'm with Kelly Davis and of Infor Hospitality, and focused on the restaurant industry, I might point out. And we're here having a conversation today. We're going to come back in just a minute, and we're going to continue that conversation in a few more areas that she just put on the table for us.
With the rapid expansion of technology in the food and beverage industries, finding the right supplier can become overwhelming and complicated. To simplify this process, the IFBTA created Exchange. Exchange is a powerful search tool where users can easily narrow down their technology search and refine results by application type, geography served, department, and more. Browse resources and learn more about the industry's technology suppliers at exchange.ifbta.org. Now, back to the show.
So welcome back to TechBytes here at the National Restaurant Association show in Chicago. And I'm with Kelly Davis, who is on the hospitality sales side of Infor. And we first started in the first part really talking about who is Infor and all the different areas, and also putting it together in the opportunities. We talked about sales and catering, which I'm sure is an unexpected area for many people. We talked about, labor and scheduling, because specifically scheduling, 'cause I'm not so sure that people know how deep you guys are into workforce management, which is clearly, and then we know about financials, because that's one of the areas you guys got your start in, and then we covered global. So now we're talking about some of your observations that are here, that you've seen here, and you were saying it's about partnership, and we know that people do best of breed, or they do all in one.
Yeah.
But you actually touched on a few other areas. So you brought up reservations.
Yes.
Now I have no reservations about this conversation, so we can talk about reservations.
Okay.
But that is actually a big area. When reservations first got started, it was really dominated by a few very large companies. And what we've started to see is 2 things. One is we've started to see people coming in and focusing on specific areas, like regionally, and smaller players. But we also see the POS players getting into reservations because they want to do a seamless piece, right?
Yeah.
So when you look at reservations, you really want to attract guests wherever they're coming. And by the way, and then you see the Googles and people in that too, also connecting, right? Which comes from outside, because so many people look you up that way. So how do you see the reservations piece being integrated in? And do you have a reservations platform within restaurants?
We do, yeah.
See, I already knew that answer.
Great question. We do have a TRS solution as part of our ecosystem and our solutions. It's really great to see, the other table reservations platforms that are in the market. Like you said, they started out with a few, and now, there's a few. We do integrate with other table reservation solutions as well. So, it doesn't have to be an all-in-one. You can
people are going to take the reservations where they get them.
Yes. Yeah, absolutely. So, and then, I think the other piece of this too that we could touch on is, really the contactless and the mobile piece of, where the market and where the trends are going. I mean, that's a super important piece of, where everybody is trending toward and being innovative, with all of that. So it's fun for from a product development perspective, be able to be on webinars internally and calls where we're talking about all of that, and really.
Well, you're able to share insights with
Yes.
your peers,
Yep.
in the other verticals, and there's learnings there to be had, right?
Absolutely.
Why can't we?
So
I mean, it
valuable.
isn't that the tool isn't already there because the
Uh-huh.
platform's there, but how can you apply it in a different industry vertical using that learning? Which, by the way, I would think has become a lot easier since we see partnerships between verticals.
Uh-huh.
Restaurants ending up in grocery stores, restaurants in C-stores, restaurants in casinos, cruise ships, right?
Right, like
but
the
that are
mixed use of
standalone, right?
it. Yeah.
Where they're not all operating themselves. And that is, by the way, one of the benefits that Infor has because of your deep understanding in those markets that have non-traditional, that have all of the different types of platforms in a single place, right? Or industry segments in a single place. Not everybody can do that, but you're able to bring those learnings to, by the way, I'm going to assume you don't know everything.
I don't.
So how do you bring your partners in? How do you bring your peers into a conversation when you're dealing with somebody who's looking to expand in a target industry where they weren't before?
Absolutely.
Or, that you need that expertise. How's that work?
In sales and being an AE, you really have to be kind of an air traffic controller. We pull in. Because we're a global organization, and we're part of the Coke family and landscape too. It really is great, the resources that we can pull in for just about any vertical and segment. So, we can't be the educators of all things all the time. There's so much to learn, and being almost 2 years in, I still have so much to learn as far as the product breadth, but it's really the people and the resources and the help that you get internally. We reflect that into our customer success as well, and our customer outreach to our clients. So hopefully that's seen.
I remember I was in New York. I think it might have been towards the end of last year. Maybe it was in January. I forget, but I had lunch with Jonathan Pryor.
Did you?
And we were talking, and it was the day that they announced, I think the Coke family had bought into one of the sporting teams, right? And so just out of curiosity, do you get to test innovation and do you get to do some things with some of the actual operating companies like that?
I'm sure we do. I don't. I'm not a part of that. Although I probably should be, because that would be fascinating to know. But yeah, it's one of those things. We use a lot of use cases, for the innovation of what we're looking to grow in the coming years. So the use cases are super valuable for sure.
So use cases are very interesting. I was looking at the customers that you have, and a lot of most of them are actually members of the IFBTA, which is great. But I look at that, and I'm sure a lot of people, by the way, don't know all these customers. If you look at the breadth of hotel customers and restaurant customers and the large groups and the stadiums and arenas and all the different industries, I don't think people actually realize that. But that also, by the way, gets you into so many brands.
It does.
Because as soon as you're working with some of those people, they may have 60 brands, right, within it. So there is a lot of experience there. But, experience and working together is a partnership. So how do you, in your job and what you do day to day for the restaurant industry, how do you work that partnership where you're bringing them into the conversation, but you're also bringing your side in? And maybe there's a success story that you could just sort of share of something that worked out, if you hadn't gotten together and you put brainstorming and you came up with a solution.
I love that. No, it is all about collaboration. And I will say, whether it's this industry or the industry that I was previously in,
Well, you were in the hospitality industry before.
Well, yes, on the design side. But
but you were designing solutions.
I was still doing that.
There you go.
But true partnership really is the key. And, it comes down to, it's really not that complicated. It comes down to having a conversation about, what are your challenges? What are the things that you want to be more successful in your day-to-day operations? Because quite honestly, restaurants are one vertical, but there's so many intricacies in every business model So within our customer base, just within restaurants, I mean, Starbucks and Sonic and White Castle are three of our amazing partners within hospitality, and there's great success stories with them. I would say within my portfolio of clubs and golf courses and resorts and stadiums, arenas, convention centers, they're really we've got some great we've got SoFi Arena was probably a
I've toured that arena.
It's beautiful, isn't it?
Yeah, and they've got a lot of technology all throughout that thing, including how they did the CRM side and the connectivity, that they're doing in the data sources. I was just totally amazed at all the sources you didn't think of to pull data about those who are sitting in the stands.
Oh my gosh, I know. Fantastic, right? And I cannot wait until our hospitality.
I think that was part of Compass,
insights.
Right? Was that Compass?
Uh-huh.
Yeah, and they have a division that focuses on digital, and you guys are very closely tied with that.
We are. So yeah, I mean, it's fascinating, the user experience side of this whole realm. I mean, really tapping into the data insights of user experience is I mean, that's what sets you apart, and that's what our customers and our restaurants for dining experience. I mean, that's what they're looking for, right? Is they want to kind of collect that, data so that they can be most successful moving forward with what they're putting out.
So is there an area that you think that our industry hasn't figured out yet, or they're underestimating? Because you have seen, and sharing information with your peers, you see a lot of different things. Is there a real area that people aren't talking about yet that you really think they should, maybe coming from what you have learned in some of the other areas that Infor serves?
I think I was just at an IVM regional show, and I think one of the most exciting things and takeaways from that was how marketing companies are embedding the user experience into contactless and mobile platforms, right? And then what that could potentially be in 2 years and 5 years, right? They're embedding not just the QR code. We're not seeing just the standard QR code anymore. There's, it's embedded in a visual.
Right, and it just comes alive when you're looking at it, right? Because they figure you're going to do that with your phone or something, and go ahead and look at that, right?
And it's such a, the 3D aspect of it, the visual of that, again, just the customer experience piece of it, I think is only going to continue to grow.
Well, that is one of the beauties of being in multi-industry, because when we do the National Retail Federation shows and things like that, you get to see the mirrors, that people are trying on clothes that aren't there. But by the way, they do that at home, right? And then you see workout studios at home that are done virtually that way, right?
Right.
So that is really also the ability to bring, hospitality there. I do think that the one thing that people do underestimate also is in the restaurant industry, how many companies are now going into CPG and they're selling their products in grocery stores, and they're also making. We have an association. I went last night to IFMA, and their home away. What is it? The home away from home foods, or is their slogan, right? And you see other people saying that, and where we find restaurants today is not just in the four walls. We find them everywhere. Yeah. And find them at the airport here at O'Hare, right? Mm-hmm. And you see a whole wall of restaurant stuff, the cupcake guy, the cake boss. So that technology may still be the same. And it's got to feed your inventories, your ordering, your pricing, even your customers, knowing who your customer is, even at that level, right? And where they're shopping with you, because that is it's not another day part, but it's another turn per month, the holy grail, right? Of getting another customer visit, right?
It is. Well, and
visit at the airport.
And what kind of guides customer visit? It's every time you go and experience something yourself, if somebody knows what your favorite thing is, right? Like, that's the thing that you remember. That's the takeaway, right? And so how do we do that across all industries, especially in restaurants, and convention centers and, the other verticals that we serve? It really is about making our customers feel like they're being seen, they're being heard, and it's not so much, that we're tracking that information, but also it's the personalization aspect of that I think creates the experience, right? And
Right.
and makes them come back. So
And by the way, I would be neglectful in not actually asking about point of sale
Yeah.
because it's funny because you think about point of sale most of the time,
uh-huh.
but you obviously have a very strong track record in point of sale as well,
We do.
and drive through,
Yes.
and and also doing those things as well. And but it's all the other parts and pieces. So, what do you think is the one area that you just wish more people knew about Infor restaurants to be in? What's the unexpected thing that they're going to hear from this and say, aha, or you want to just make sure that they got?
With regards to POS?
Well, point
Or
of sale or anything
point of
within
sale?
the...
Okay. I mean, truly probably the biggest takeaway is the integrations and the partnerships of best go-to-market. And really,
And there are so many integrations, by the way, that it's almost becomes plug and play
Yeah.
of sorts, right?
Yeah,
It
there
isn't like you have to use the word custom
right.
in
right.
here, that you really have that depth,
Yeah.
in there.
Yeah.
So the integrations would be the key, being a platform
Yes.
in there, and then having a base that includes point of sale in there, because even
Absolutely.
today, even though I may have a different opinion on it, people will still say POS is at the heart.
Yeah.
Although I've looked at your, wheel, of all of the different things that are there, and actually at the heart is the cloud and bringing it all together, not
It is.
necessarily the POS. The POS is one part.
Right.
But you got to have that back office. You got to feed all the data across the board, right?
You
And that's
do.
really what your story is.
You do. And it really is a full cloud suite solution, which I think that's probably the biggest takeaway for everything that we bring to the market and offer. Yeah. I appreciate
Well, that's great. So, the one thing, so you knew you were coming, you said you've been here before.
I came last year.
Okay, you
Yep.
came last year. So was there something that you came here specifically for that you were just looking forward to seeing again?
Oh gosh. I mean, I think every show last year was kind of a blur because I was so new into the industry, not knowing what I would see. I love the technology and innovation. It's what, one of the other technology pieces that I saw, which I think is fascinating, is the bilingual aspects.
Well,
of
the language
technology
has
too.
become there. Yeah, it's finally
Yeah.
coming around. There's
is.
a
It's
few.
great.
It's always like 110, 130 different languages. But
Yeah.
look, as soon as it comes for the consumer market on your phone, they're just putting it together here. But yes, there is quite a bit of that here. Plus, by the way, the number of companies that are here from outside,
Yes.
North America,
Yeah.
right?
Well, speaking of global, right? Because we're a global organization, I just think it's beautiful to see that, because we're not just looking at a snapshot of
Right.
the Americas. So from a global perspective, I really appreciate that.
Well, look, it's been great having you here. It's great seeing you here at the
Rob,
National
thank
Restaurant
you.
Show in Chicago.
It's great to see you as well.
So,
Thanks for having me.
I'm sure this will be one of many more conversations during
I
the
hope
course
so.
of the year, and certainly meeting up, in person. And we appreciate, Infor's support and being
We
a
appreciate
partner in the
yours as well.
IFBTA as well. So
Yeah, thank you.
I've had a great conversation today with Kelly Davis, who handles the restaurant sales in the hospitality area of Infor, and here at the National Restaurant Association show in Chicago, and just really getting to trade notes not only on Infor, but also on some of the things of her perspective as being a solution designer at Infor.
I'm gonna take that.
There
I love
you
it.
go.
I love it so much.
But thank you for
Thanks
joining
for having
us.
me. Yeah.
This podcast is brought to you by the International Food and Beverage Technology Association. The IFBTA is the industry's voice of food service, hospitality, and retail technology, providing thought leadership as your single, impartial, and go-to resource. The IFBTA offers in-person and online communities to connect with your peers, the exchange, an all-encompassing global technology resource, and an industry-wide professional education and certification program. The bottom line is the IFBTA is your place to gather, learn, and share in conversations like the one we're having today. Thank you for joining us on this episode of TechBytes, powered by the IFBTA. I'm Rob Grimes, your host, and I look forward to taking our next bite of technology together.